All right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for coming to this preliminary meeting after the first week's mobilization of my campaign for City Council of District 6. My name is Marissa Joe. I'm an Indigenous student here at the University of New Mexico, and I'm a single mother of a 2-year-old daughter, and have a lot of lived experiences that I think resonate with a lot of people in this community. Today I'd like to review with you our thinking and discussions that have led up until today. Since early this year, we have been discussing how to intervene in the capitalist elections. The PSL here in Albuquerque has been at the forefront of many struggles in the past years, and even more so in this last year. We knew that we wanted to intervene in the elections as people's attention would be refocused with TV ads, street signs, and various campaigns. These campaigns would be drawing their attention into the process of bourgeois democratic elections, which first and foremost distract working and poor peoples from all the issues we struggle on together, day to day and throughout the year. Initially, we had learned from the city clerk that District 4 and 8 had open seats. The incumbents in these districts clearly stand on the side of the rich, the developers, and the racist status quo. We then began a process to pick members of our party who would represent well these districts. Then we were struck with a lesson learned about democracy under capitalism. Ray Garduno, the current councilperson for District 6, someone who has stood with us on many issues, including on the snowy day a few months ago to abolish Columbus Day here in the city of Albuquerque. He had announced his retirement. But Ray not only announced his retirement, leaving his seat vacant, but as being part of the Democratic Party machine, also announced his endorsement for the Democratic Party machine's pick, who happens to be a pro-war ex-cop. This was very confusing for many of us because Ray has been a reliable and consistent ally of the social justice movement, and we consider him a friend, and we still consider him an ally. If you visit the website of the pro-war ex-cop I mentioned before, you see that in reality, he is most worried about crime, not jobs. He talks vaguely about entrepreneurial endeavors, but not a word about a living wage and affordable housing. He mentions the Kirtland jet fuel spill, but also so that he can praise the military for its first steps and progress. We want to be clear from this point on that none of our disagreements are fundamentally with Pat Davis or any other establishment politician. We don't hate Pat Davis. We hate capitalism. This is why we need an intervention of a party organized as our party is. My candidacy is not only an initiative of the Party for Socialism and Liberation. It is a collaborative effort spearheaded by the PSL and the Red Nation, both organizations I am a member of. A people's campaign does not suck the life out of the demands of the people. A people's campaign is a part of those demands. Our campaign is to forge ahead in the spirit of the People's Tribunal Against Police Brutality. In coalition with other forces, we organized a tribunal that was held on the anniversary of the murder of James Abba Boyd, a homeless man whose only crime was camping in the foothills. He was murdered by the Albuquerque Police Department. Abba's brutal murder reignited a movement against police violence, drawing hundreds into the streets prior to the national uprising characterized by the Black Lives Matter movement that began after the murder of Mike Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. My campaign is about pushing back racist police violence. We know the oppression faced by Native peoples whose lands have been stolen and treaties ignored is core to the conditions that we face in this district and in Albuquerque. 80% of Native peoples are living in urban environments, facing a shocking rate of homelessness, lack of access to health care, and educational services. We receive the brunt of racist violence administered by the cops. These are the conditions, not unlike those in Baltimore or Ferguson or Charlotte, where African Americans have been the target of brutality and murder by the police, and the conditions created by capitalism, and a legacy of slavery and a history of racist discrimination, just like Native and Latino populations here. But the people in these cities across the country have stood up against this repression, and we will too. This last year has been historic in the ongoing fight against racist violence, the rebellions against violence. I'm so proud of our work here that we can count Albuquerque and Gallup both among those cities and towns that have stood up. The electoral process now wants to tell me that it is time to sit down and let a representative of oppression, an ex-cop, take a seat that belongs to the people. We have a people's mandate not only from here in District 6, but from our brothers and sisters all over the country, that seat belongs to our movement for justice. Today, I was listening to our radio program, Liberation Radio, and I was so glad to hear that the vision of struggle that we have also taken up was also taken up by revolutionary forces in other countries. The radio program covered events in Turkey, and part of the show was on the Communist Party in Turkey's intervention in the parliamentary election there. They are known by the acronym TKP, just as we are known as the PSL. The TKP is running a slate of all women for the upcoming elections. That is 550 women. This movement is in no way symbolic, just like we are using our campaign to mobilize the most affected by colonialism, capitalism, and imperialism. To build a fight back where we can win, whether that be at the ballot box or in the streets. I am so proud to be running with these 550 revolutionary Turkish women. We have a lot to tell you about the upcoming events and strategies of the campaign. We have a growing army of volunteers and lists of endorsers. We have invitations to meetings, events, and for the media. But before we get to all of that, I want to return to a central call that we have. I myself am a single mother living here in New Mexico. This state tops the nation in childhood hunger. It is no wonder that children go hungry in this state when the cost of childcare often exceeds the cost of rent. For me personally, as well as countless other families here in this area, as well as the city as a whole, it is like paying rent on 2 apartments. We have the nation's second highest percentage of people living in poverty. And more than anything, I hear from our petitioning teams that people have all responded with an overwhelming need for a living wage. How can we have a future? How can our children have a future with Albuquerque being the nation's largest toxic contaminated aquifer because of the Kirtland jet fuel spill, and being the nuclear meltdown capital of the world from the Sandia National Labs mixed waste landfill? The city council elections will either turn all of these critical issues into a circus or ignore them altogether. Life or death issues will be presented as candidates being for or against or for this or that issue. We won't be sucked into that. I would like to take the opportunity of today's meeting to tell you all, to tell all of you we are out to build alliances and coalitions to fight. But all potential allies we join with must recognize that these crises have to be met with the necessary response. To address the racism, poverty, toxic contamination, wage theft, land theft, and all of these issues raised in my 10-point program, which I will discuss more later, we're all calling for the declaration of a state of emergency for the people of Albuquerque. This state of emergency requires an emergency response, and we will fight to get it. This call for an emergency response is key to my campaign, because we understand that the electoral process under capitalism cannot address the issues of the people. It is a system set up to ensure the continuation of itself of the domination of the tiny elite who benefit from the horrendous conditions experienced by working and poor peoples here in this city. Whether I win or lose on October 7th, I know we are all going to fight to win. We know the issues and conditions faced by working and poor peoples will continue to exist on October 7th. That's the day after the election. And we will continue to fight for all of these demands either way, whether we win or lose. The electoral process is exclusionary. Our members and volunteers who live on fixed incomes or low incomes or no incomes have to scrape the money together in order for the time to knock on doors and to stand in front of stores to ask for the right to appear on the ballot. A right is not something you have to ask for. A right is assumed. The candidates of the rich just pay for their access. They hire people to go out and petition for them. Our campaign is a team of volunteers, people who have a desire to build the movement. We all have made tremendous sacrifices just to have a say in the electoral process. We need to tell people about this. Just ask the volunteers of our campaign. A large percentage of the working class who lives and works in this district does not have the right to vote due to immigration status or past felonies. Many cannot sign because they have no address to provide. Even those who have a job and are registered to vote tell us of the challenges they get from coming home from a long day's work and the struggle to get to a voting or polling place that oftentimes are an hour away from someone's workplace. And this is what they call democracy. We are fighting for so much more. But just because our vision is far more expansive than what capitalist democracy offers, we don't see the capitalist elections and just say, I'll sit this one out. In essence, we don't want to abandon the electoral arena to the two parties that both represent Wall Street. At the moment when people's attention is drawn in the directions of the elections, we are going to campaign and to organize and speak to working and poor people about fighting back, whether they have the right to vote or not. The other candidates are not only interested in who may show up at the ballot box in October or who is most likely to show up. We are interested in the whole of our class and whether they can vote every day with their actions by joining our campaign from now until October 6th. I want to briefly go through our 10-point program which addresses the primary issues faced by people in this district. I don't know if you guys have seen this little flyer, but please take one home with you. It is important to make the minimum wage a living wage. We want to raise wages in an effort to fight poverty and put an end to prosecute all predatory lending. Because of the fact that we don't have a living wage set forth here in Albuquerque, a lot of people at the end of the month become prey to the predatory lending institutions. And actually, the state of New Mexico does not have any laws or regulations against predatory lending. Our second point is environmental justice for our residents. And we really want to take a lead against climate change. And it is really important to hold Curly Air Force Base responsible for the jet fuel spill. We want to stop police brutality and mass incarceration. It is imperative and important to fully prosecute all acts of police brutality and violence. The Albuquerque Police Department needs to be held accountable for their use of excessive force and violence. It is important to think about self-determination, and it is imperative to uphold treaty rights both on and off reservations and trust lands. We're struggling in a campaign against border town violence, and if any of you would like to talk further about border town violence, please talk to any of us who are members of the Red Nation. We can talk to you about it. But this is a really important issue that affects many people both on and off the reservation. But we want to make housing affordable, and it's really important to build affordable housing as well as year-round shelters. And it's also important to sanction all tent cities. And maybe we can start to take care of our homeless brothers and sisters, because a lot of people do not advocate for them and do not participate in thinking or talking about their needs. My uncles and I had a cousin that lived on the streets. They were both Indigenous men. And they were neglected by the city, and a lot of them faced a lot of violence that was never investigated, and one of their murders wasn't even solved. The sixth point is to tax the rich. We truly need a progressive tax system to fund the people's needs. We also want to fight for free public health care for all. This includes mental health support services, substance abuse services on demand, as well as LGBTQ services. It is important to defend public health or public education. We want to say no to PARCC, to the park testing, as well as other corporate testing. And we want to stop all corporate attacks on our public schools. It is important to demilitarize our economy and our universities. The resources of New Mexico belong to the people and not to the Pentagon. We want to encourage development for the people and say no to corporate tax breaks. This means truly thinking about innovative ways to rebuild District 6 and honestly thinking outside of the corporate box. These issues are really important, and I would like to challenge the other candidates to have a statement on these issues and to take a stand on these issues and to envision solutions to these issues. Cop and brutalizer Pat Davis may mention some of these issues that our campaign is raising. These are issues that are literally life and death for people in this current state of emergency. These are issues that people are mad about. I am mad about. But brutalizer Pat Davis's whole approach is trying to find a way to speak about these things in a way that doesn't make people mad, and especially in a way that doesn't make the rich mad. Our approach is how do we speak to the people who are mad, and how do we bring them into the struggle? I look forward to seeing this process unfold more in the months to come. And so now I just want to say, please join us in the petitioning, join our campaign, and join me at the Trans March on June 11th. And please join my contingent at the LGBT Pride event on June 13th. Let's fight back.
Yeah.
Woo!